Shalom, shalom. Mishpacha of The Way. It's your girl 916 Shan, also known as Ashanti. How y'all doing? How y'all doing this evening? How y'all been? Hope y'all had a good and lovely day. It's Hump Day. Hope y'all getting through the week good so far. For those who celebrated New Year's, Happy New Year. To all the people who made resolutions, no, I hope they come to fruition for you. Right? I wanted to come and do this video because the last time I was trying to do it, the internet speed was all jacked up, and therefore you could not see a good visual of the information I was holding up. You heard me, but you couldn't see quite clear. So I know you can see clear now, right? I got Xfinity to come out and do their thingamajig, you know. So with that being said, shalom, shalom, what up, though? All that good stuff. So I'm gonna make this video very informative, and it's going to be an updated video showing the sources that I use to study, learn, research, things of that nature. And then, if you want, you can ask me questions as well. I have the live chat open. All right. So, the main three things that are pertinent to studying anything of biblical nature is the languages, the culture, the secular historical information that corroborate scripture, meaning outside sources that elaborate more on the events that happen in the scripture, especially for the nations that Israel dealt with or the timeline, right? And then also the information of geography. Shalom, Sister Kia. How you doing? Thank you for joining in. Hope you learned something and hope the information I bring and the resources I share are pretty cool. All right. So, with that being said, the information to get geographical location, information to get secular history, information about the languages and the culture, I'll show them to you in physical book form, and I'll show you the place where you can go that has a vast digital library so that you can download PDFs. If you don't have the access to get the physical book yet, you can download PDFs, right? So I'll show that to you as well. So let me get started. All right. I'm just going to go over all the books that I have pretty much. I'm going to focus on this shelf right here and the two shelves behind me, and I'm going to go quick. All right. Of course, if you have any questions, ask them in the chat, and I'll be happy to get to them. All right. If you have a question, just make it specific. If you could remember, if you're trying to remember a book title or the author or whatever I said, just put that information in your question. If you can. All right. So, first and foremost, I'll say this. A lot of people ask me which Bible translations that I think are the best. I don't think any of them are the best at this point. I think they're okay resources. All right. So when I'm reading on the go, I have my Sword app on my phone. I look at the NET. I look at the NASB. I look at the NLT. I look at the ESV. I look at the KJV still. I read from the scriptures a lot, and that's pretty much a little bit of it. But I'm learning the biblical Hebrew, and I'm learning the biblical Greek. Right. So with that being said, the sources that I use for reading the biblical Hebrew and the biblical Greek are here. So I'll show those right here. Biblia Hebraica Stucartensia for the Hebrew. That is the Tanakh. And then the Greek New Testament SBL edition by Michael Holmes. This edition right here for the Hebrew, it gives the textual apparatus at the bottom to give like textual variants to show you if there were other manuscripts or other fragments found that had different words for different spellings, or they give you references that may be in the Septuagint that are different from the Hebrew rendering here. That's why I like this one. And then for the SBL, edition of the Greek New Testament. It has words originally there from the manuscripts, from the papyri, from the fragments, and a lot of the words that are um, inserted into our editions after the 12th century, 16th century AD. They remove those words from here. And then there are references that tell you, oh, okay, well, this version has this word, but this other version doesn't. So this version right here, I like to read because it actually gives you the words that are in the original manuscripts, right? All right. The sources that I use to learn biblical Greek, this one right here. Learn Biblical Hebrew by John H. Dobson. I went through all of the lessons in here when I first learned Hebrew. Pretty much has 25 lessons in it. 25 lessons, and it gives you a lot of examples from the Hebrew scriptures. Let me change my camera focus so it'll stop focusing. But this is Learn Biblical Hebrew by John H. Dobson. I think it cost like $30 when I first purchased it, but this is where I first learned Hebrew at, and it has a lot of examples from the Hebrew scriptures. And pretty much, yeah, after 2 hours of going through like a lesson or two in here, you will begin to start saying Hebrew words. It comes with a CD so that you can say the words in Hebrew along to the narrator, right? So that's where I first learned biblical Hebrew from. Let me change my camera focus here before I continue. See if I can change it. Yeah. It was auto-focusing. I don't want it to autofocus. Okay, so let me continue. Now, the book I'm holding up right now, Basics of Biblical Hebrew by Gary Pratico and Miles Van Pelt. This is the book I use to assist sisters and brothers to learn the biblical Hebrew language. It actually has about, let's see, trying to see how many lessons it has in it. 36 36 lessons in it. When I purchased it, I got it from Half Price Books, and it was on the shelf for $10. Brand spanking new. I don't think they understood what kind of treasure they put on the shelf that day. Since then, I have not seen it again in that store. Since then, when I go online, I see it for about maybe between like 35 and $40 maybe. A student of mine said they have the third edition of this coming out, but this also comes with the CD. And on the CD, it has a lot of your paradigm charts, a lot of your model charts of your words when you're going to learn the verb conjugations and things of that nature. When you're going to learn first person, second person, third person, and all the binyan or the building blocks of the action words in the Hebrew, right? So this is the book I use to teach. This is very simple to go through, and pretty much like I said, it has 36 lessons. All right. What up, Sister Kirsten? How you doing? See, I'm doing this video all over again, and you can see me now, right? Right. We got that taken care of. Sister Kia said, "How long did it take you to learn Hebrew?" Good question. I started learning um about the fall or the winter time of the year 2013, and to get a good grasp like on the alphabet and the to get a grasp on the alphabet and the vowels, it pretty much took me like six months, and then the rest of the year I kept building on. So I just started within that time learning the vocabulary words too. So pretty much a good chunk of what I learned going through that learn biblical Hebrew, um, it took me about a year and some change. And so after that year and the change it took me to learn biblical Hebrew, I just keep refreshing, keep referencing back to the sources, keep building. I keep reading the Hebrew Tanakh. I keep reading the Hebrew Tanakh. I'm really trying to not read the translations at all. And as a matter of fact, I started as a goal of mine, I started reading Genesis, and then Matthew. So I'm trying to get from Genesis to Revelation, only reading the original languages. So right now I'm on I'm trying to read it all the way through from Genesis to Revelation, but I have read a lot of the book in Hebrew. That helps me a lot. But I'm on like chapter 8 or 9 of the Hebrew in Genesis, and then I'm on chapter 10 in the Greek, right? So my goal is to read from Genesis to Revelation in the original languages. That's how you got to press. Yochanan, what is that brown book, sis? The brown book. This one. This is the Biblia Hebraica Stucartensia. This is the Tanakh. Tanakh is the acronym for Torah, first 5 books of the Bible, Nabiim, or the prophets, and then Ketuvim, the writings. The writings are, your Psalms, your Proverbs, your Job, your Lamentations, Ecclesiastes, things of that nature. This is the Hebrew Tanakh. All right, so I'll show you what's inside here. Let's see. Trying to get to Genesis 1. There's so many things to read in the beginning. I don't know if you can see that, but so that's where you see, right? The Bereshit bara Elohim et Hashemayim ve'et haaretz, right? That first line right there, right? And then the textual apparatus, that's what you see down there. You see notes up here. The notes lead you to go down here, and you'll say, oh, there's a textual variant here. Maybe the Septuagint has something different. Maybe there was a fragment found that has a different writing of the word, things of that nature. These notes are all through the Tanakh here. All right. This is the scholarly source. You say, I saw you in the webinar a few Saturdays ago. I got to hit you up for your opinion about the teaching. You saw me in the webinar. Oh yeah, I ain't even gonna say the name, but yeah, that's very controversial. If you want to hit me up after this video is off or whenever you got time, Sister Kirsten, yes, hit me up. I'll give you my opinion and my take, no problem. You want to see the spine of the book? Thank you, brother Yochanan. Thank you. You want to see the spine? Pretty much, it's gonna say that. It's gonna say pretty much Torah, Nebi'im, Ketuvim. All right, that's the spine. On the back, it says this: Torah, Nebi'im, Ketuvim. Right? Yeah, for sure, Sister Kirsten. All right. Another resource I have here. This is called the Meridian Hebrew English Hebrew Dictionary. As I stated before, this dictionary helped me a lot with words that are not in the scripture, and it also helped me with words that are in the scriptures. As a matter of fact, like I said, it helped me with a word in Exodus 35, verse 3. That's very controversial. And when you get into the binyan, when you get into the verb conjugations, that means like you'll start seeing a pattern in the vowel points or the nukudo telling you what type of word is going on. Hebrew is a verb subject object language, so the verb or the action is the most important, it's the most significant, right? So the pattern of the verb or the fluctuations in your vocal box when you're speaking, it lets you know what type of words you're speaking, whether they're past or present or future, whether they're completed or not completed, whether they're a continuing action, such and such, right? But this is a great book. I forget how much I purchased it for, but I had to order it online. All right. Let's see. Yochanan asked me a question. Have you heard about the Hebrew, Greek, English interlinear Bible? Yes, I've heard about it. I've heard about all of those. And I opted out of them. The only interlinear I have of the Greek is this one right here. I have an interlinear, the Kingdom translation of the Greek scriptures. I got this for like $5 or $6 from Half Price Books. Now, Half Price Books is a physical store that we have here in Sacramento. However, if you don't have the physical location of that store in your area, they do have an online store, half price books. So this is the interlinear Greek I have here. See? What is this? Romans 3 and 24. So yeah, it has the words above and it has the words below, right? This is on a good, like, I would call it cheat day when I'm trying to learn some vocabulary words, right? But when I'm really pushing myself to get the words and understand the vocabulary, I'll go to the SBL Greek New Testament and read it. All right. So yeah, that's that. Oh yeah. Okay. Like I said, I'm just going through all my sources for you guys. All right. So this right here, I got from Half Price Books as well. I didn't know it was going to be on the shelf. I like to go to Half Price Books and see what they have. And a lot of times when you go to see what they have, when you have money, it's like, ooh, I got to get that. So this was like $50 from Half Price Books. However, this book you can purchase online from the Bible Society in Israel. Now this right here, it has Hebrew and English, right? But it's Hebrew all the way from Genesis to Revelation. So the purpose of these, people say, well, why do they have the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and all the Gospels and the letters and the writings and stuff? Why do they have that in the Hebrew? Well, one of the things to do is actually evangelize some of the Jewish people over there in 1948 Israel, right? They want to make things more comfortable for them to read in their primary language, so they put the Gospels in Hebrew majorly. So, Bible Society in Israel does this for them, and pretty much primarily for them. However, for all of us, you can actually purchase this book online from that site. And it's like I think over there it's like 80 or $90 for the book. But if you really want Genesis to Revelation in Hebrew, that you got it. Somebody asked me a question. What's up, Sister Marie? How you doing? You just now getting here, so I'm gonna need you to start from the beginning. Sister Marie got them jokes that I love. I love it, sis. Now you can see me now. You can see me now. So we good, right? All right, when did I start this? At 5:30? I'm making good time, and I've been on for 18 minutes. All right, so um, another source I have here. This is called an Intermediate Greek English Lexicon, founded upon the seventh edition of Liddell and Scott's Greek English. Right. So Liddell and Scott's. This right here gives you first century AD definitions of words. Now, when I'm reading the Brit HaHadashah, or the Renewal Covenant, I like to go into first century AD definitions of words, not words from the 6th century AD and after. Okay, if you're trying to understand the author's intent, you have to understand the definition that the authors wrote in at the time that they were writing. So anytime I'm looking at Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, and the rest of the epistles that Paul wrote, first century AD definitions, and I used this book, especially when going into the meaning for head. When I did the head and head covering series on my channel, you can go back and look at that. All right. So this is a great source to look at first century AD definitions. Now, the thing about this is, it's not numbered from the Strong's Concordance. Okay, there are no Strong's Concordance numbers in here. You really have to at least know the Greek alphabet or be familiar with the Greek alphabet, because it goes in order of the Greek alphabet. I'll show you. Right. I'm laughing because, you know, in my beginnings of biblical Greek learning, I had no idea. None of how to get through this book. So let's see this. You see that? It's straight Greek. Straight. He said, yeah, it's looking clear, but that last book from Genesis to Revelation, can I peep that again? Yep. You are the chosen one. Sister Catriel. Yep, I'll show it to you again. Yeah, this is it says Sefer. What does it say? Sefer Habritot. Sefer Habritot. For my Hebrew students. What does that mean? Sefer Habritot. Book of the Covenants. Right? Means Book of the Covenants. Yes. So you said look Greek to you, Sister Catriel. We gotta get your study on. All right. This is the Apocrypha here. A lot of y'all know about the Apocrypha, right? Covers 400 years of history in between the book of Malachi and the book of Matthew. Second Esdras is a little bit questionable, a little bit shaky because it's if you go into deep historical information, the book of Second Esdras is not it's not historically accurate. It gives a prophecy in here about the Messiah and his name, and we know like Messiah's name is not actually revealed until we get to Matthew. All right. So if you got a question about that, you can ask me later. All right. This book, next book, this is called Social World of Ancient Israel. From it gives the times in life, the social, economical, political parameters and home life and house life that Israel was involved in between the year 1250 BCE, that's before Common Era, and 587 BCE, before Common Era. Now, if you guys understand the chronology of 587 BCE. 587. Does anyone know what happened in 587 BCE? It's a very historical moment for especially the house of Yehuda or Judah, right? $8 from Half Price Books. And sometimes I don't remove those stickers, right? Because sometimes they'll mess up the cover. This book is from Victor H. Matthews and Don Benjamin. So if you want to know what mother and father did, what the home life was, what the everyday work life was of Israel, books like this help. They help a lot. All right. Social world of ancient Israel. Because these are the things, these are the particulars, the intricate details, right, that are not written verbatim in the Bible. All right. All right. Let's move along. Let's move along. Let's move along. This book right here, Secrets of Jerusalem's Temple Mount by Lean and Kathleen Rittenmeyer. I got this for $4.50. I think this is in a PDF form online. You guys can look that up. But I was doing a lot of temple studies, still do a lot of temple studies from the scriptures or whatever. Looking at the temple, the areas, the quarters, the steps, the rooms, the things that went inside of it, how they correlate to our body and our body parts. That's why I'm very interested in the temple. And I think anybody who calls themselves a child of the Most High would benefit from learning about the temple. So I do a lot of temple studies. I usually listen to a sister named Diane Dye and a brother named Rico Cortez. I listen to a lot of Hebrew roots people. They got a lot of information over there, So, and anytime they give out some books, references, and materials and such, I take them down. I go back and I get them. All right. You say what happened during that time of 587 BCE? Uh, Pretty much the siege of Jerusalem began from Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babel. Right. You can read Jeremiah, maybe I think Jeremiah chapter 20, or you can read from Jeremiah chapter 1. And then when you get to Jeremiah chapter 20, you definitely see what's going on. So that's what happened in 587 BCE, or either 586 BCE, right? Sometimes chronology, the information that you get from outside sources, they're like 1 to 3 years approximate. So some people will say, okay, siege of Jerusalem came and the temple destroyed 587 BCE. Some people will say 586 BCE, but you're welcome, Sister Kia. All right. Making good timing. All right, y'all still with me? Y'all still with me? This book right here, Exegetical Fallacies by D.A. Carson. All right. Um, I ran into this book when I was listening to all of the fights about the sacred name and how to say Yod Hey Wahe, right? And the exegetical fallacies or falsehoods that people were using to extrapolate what the pronunciation was for the sacred name Yod Hey Wahe, it just didn't make any sense, and it just didn't stay consistent, right? You had people say, okay, take the word Yehuda and just remove the Dalit and you get Yod Hey Wahe, right? And then they would say, okay, after you oh my God, they would say, okay, well, you do that for the name, and then for the name of the Messiah, they said, okay, well, it was Yahushua. I know you guys hear that. They'd be like, it's Yahushua, right? And they would say, well, no, it can't be Shua because if you take the word Yahushua, if you half it up, if you chop it in half, then Shua means to cry out. Well, why would the Father cry out? Why would he send his son to cry out? Why do they cry out? And so what they would do is they would chop a word up and chop a word up that's a compound word that's not meant to be chopped up. And so, for example, you take the word pineapple or you take the word butterfly, right? Pineapple is a compound word. It's one thing. It's a fruit, right? You take the word butterfly. It's a compound word, right? It's a caterpillar that morphed into a beautiful flying creature. Right? So what these people would do when they would do their exegetical fallacies, they would take a word, right? Like butterfly, they would chop the word in half and they would get the etymological root for butter and they would say, oh, butter is a dairy product. And then they would get the etymological root definition for fly and then they would say, oh, it's an insect that flutters away, it flies. And so they would get those etymological roots after they chopped up the word, then they would squeeze the word back together and they would say, well, butterfly is a dairy product that takes flight. That's the exegetical fallacy. That is not what you do with any language. So this book explains that what I just said is something that people try to do when they exegete scripture or when they exegete texts and passages. You cannot do that with compound words. So if you can't do that with compound words, guess what? You can't do that with the names of the children of Israel. You can't do that with the name of the Father. Sure can't do that with the name of the Messiah. And that's why you get people saying, oh, the Messiah's name is Yahusha. They're getting that because they're using exegetical fallacies. What they do not know is the basics of biblical Hebrew. They don't know the basics of biblical Hebrew because guess what? It's like taking your mind back to elementary school, taking your mind back to a child, and you got to spend hours and hours of study time breaking things down, right? As my Hebrew students here, they know. They're on this live video here. They're typing in the chat. They know. And so people who want to do this, they don't want to spend the time doing this to get a proper understanding of the text. All they think is they think they're supposed to know a pronunciation of a name. And I'm like, okay, you give them this and you tell them to read. And guess what? They're going to start hemming and a hawing. All right. Thoughts on different dialects. Yeah. Different dialects is pretty much like over here in America, you got East Coast, you got West Coast, you got down south, right? So on the East Coast, over there, especially in Boston, they be like, yo, come get in the car. Come get in the car. CAR, right? They be like, come get in the car. We ain't going that far. Come get in the car, right? That's dialect. Over here in the West Coast, we be like, yo, come get in the car. Come get in the car. We pronounce our R's very hard. Right. And down south they be like, you know what I'm saying? Come get in the car, man. Come get in the car. Come get in the car, man. Come get in the car. Dialects. That's all it is. But dialects is different from language. When you learn a language, you learn the premise or the root, or how a word starts off, and then your accent is your dialect. The way a word sounds a little bit is going to be varying from one location to the next. All right, you said this is the confusion you're having now. What's the confusion? You see so many videos using the name Yahuwah, and I'd be confused. I must get that book and learn biblical Hebrew. Sis, yeah, if you want, I can explain why I say Yahweh, and I can explain why people use Yahuwah. I can explain why I don't use Yahuwah. I can explain why Yahuwah is not scholastically correct. If you want me to do that, I can. But I do have a video on my channel that explains it. But if you want a one-on-one session with me, I'll be happy to explain it to you again, sis. Just let me know. Uh, I got time. I got time. I got a lot of time on my hand. If you call me, I got a lot of time on my hand these days. If you call me or if you hit me up on a messenger or email, duck and dodge, DUCCNDODGE1. You can hit me up and I'll explain it to you. All right, that's my email. All right, all right. I'll help you get out that confusion. And a lot of times people like to stay confused because something has become their pet doctrine. Sometimes they don't want to let go of something. You know what I mean? A lot of times in this walk, people come and they gravitate to something, they accept something, and it gets them to feeling warm and tingly inside, and they don't want to let it go. They can't correct themselves. They don't want to be corrected, and that's where it go. And in this walk, pray to the Most High Yahweh for honest people who are gonna be honest about what they come across. I'll tell you, if I was wrong, and I've been wrong plenty of times. I've been in this since 2013, and I can't count on my hands anymore how many times I've been corrected. I'm happy to be corrected because I want to grow. I don't want to stay stagnant in this thing. You know what I'm talking about? All right. Oh man. This book right here, I haven't got all the way through. This is called His Name is Jesus, the Mysterious Yeshua Codes. It's from Yaakov Ramsel. I haven't even got through this all the way because it's going to take some time. But this book right here, I'll tell you what it's about. Pretty much this guy looks for different codings to where you can see Yeshua's name throughout the Tanakh. It's like I think it's like 5 words here, 5 words there. It's a technique called equidistant letter sequence. Um, Equidistant word sequences, like the first letter of a series of words. It's spaced at equal intervals, for example, like every 10th word or whatever. And so that's what this person has done. They have went throughout the whole Tanakh and seen like this equidistant lettering or equidistant numbering, and he was able to see Yeshua's name throughout. I haven't got through this whole thing yet, but if you want to do it, cool. All right. You new to the truth? Okay, sis. Yeah, sis, hit me up. Hit me up on my hit me up on the back end. we can definitely chat, you know. Got this book here for $4.99. $5. Half price books. Y'all see where I be spending a lot of my time at? I found this book in the archaeological section. It's called Giving Goliath His Due. I haven't read all of this book yet. It's by Neil Bierling. Gives a lot of archaeological evidence, right? It says new archaeological light on the Philistines, right? You see a lot about the Philistines in what? The book of Judges, right? The Hebrew to English Bible, that one I found was like $112, right? Hey, ooh, hey, that's why when I seen it on the shelf for $50, I would grab that thing. But you can call up Half Price Books, Sister Marie, and see if they can copy for you and see if they can get it on their shelves for you at a discount. Please don't be afraid to call Half Price Books and do that. All right. Running out of room on my bookshelf here. This book I got from Barnes and Noble for $10. It's the Roman Empire. It's the Roman Empire. A lot of history of Israel is documented in the Roman annals. So anytime you're looking at from like 3rd century BCE, 2nd century BCE, and then the 1st centuries AD, 2nd century AD, learn about your Romans because Israel dealt a lot with the Romans. Israel was in bed a lot with the Romans, and at the time we were under a lot of Roman conquest. So I know a lot of people say, "But why do we have to study anything of a Roman history when we're supposed to be Hebrews and we're Israelites?" Shanti, I'm like, nah, like please, please do yourself a favor, right? Especially trying to know like who was involved in um, the revolts, Bar Kokhba revolts, who was emperor at the time of the falling of the temple in 70 AD. All right. Then you start to see the influence of where Christendom lies today with all the Sunday Christianity. It started from somewhere. So the Romans, please go check that out. Oh yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. All right. This book right here. I got it for $5 from Half Price Books. It's called The Gnostics. The First Christian Heretics by Sean Martin. This is one of the first books that turned me on to understanding First Timothy chapter 1 and First Timothy chapter 2, especially when it talked about, oh, I suffer not a woman to teach, right? And I was like, what the hell is Paul talking about? Everybody says what the hell is Paul is talking about, right? And First Timothy chapter 2, verse 12 is one of the main verses that a lot of misogynists use to say, women, y'all need to shut the hell up, sit down. And what they failed to do, or what people have failed to do, either beknownst to them or unbeknownst to them, is they failed to go back to 1st century AD secular history and see what kind of false teaching was going on. They failed to go back to looking in full context, starting at 1 Timothy chapter 1. Paul was telling Timothy about a false doctrine that was going around in the city of Ephesus mainly, Corinthian as well, but in the city of Ephesus mainly, right? And the false doctrine was something called Gnosticism. Now, I did a series on my channel. It's called "I Suffer Not a Woman." You look at that whole series, and I go into what that verse actually means in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 12. It has absolutely nothing to do with telling women to sit down and shut up and be quiet. Absolutely nothing to do with that. It has to do with Paul rebuking Gnosticism. If you understand the tenets of Gnosticism, if you understand the doctrine and the dogma of Gnosticism, you'll understand that it told an upside down story of creation. So if you understand that, then you'll understand why verse 13 in First Timothy chapter 2 First Timothy chapter 2 says what it says, right? And also, I did a presentation on Debate Talk for You, South Showtime, the second quarter, the segment that I have, right? It's going to be every other Wednesday starting January the 23rd, at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. However, I did a teaching on Gnosticism on Debate Talk for You. You can go to YouTube and go to the Debate Talk for You channel on YouTube and go back and listen to that whole presentation where I and Brother BA brought out some information about what Gnosticism is. And Gnosticism was a false teaching. It was a false gospel during the time that Paul wrote some of his letters. All right. Somebody saying something. We westernized, Romanized. Yeah, Catriel. Yeah, Catriel, some real eye opener in these books. Check out the YouTube. Yeah. Thank you, Sister Marie. Praise the Most High. Hallelujah. Praise the Most High. This next book I have half price books again. $7.50. You guys see the prices on these half price books? That's why I'm there all the time. So it's called Byzantine and Illustrated History, Sean McLaughlin. Just read the back of it just for a hot second. It says, long after Rome fell to the Germanic tribes, its culture lived on in Constantinople, the glittering capital of the Byzantine Empire. It says for more than 1,000 years, which was from 330 AD to 1453 AD, Byzantium was one of the most advanced and complex civilizations the world had ever seen. And as the Mediterranean outlet for the Silk Route, with trade networks stretching from Scandinavia to Sri Lanka, it served as a vital bridge between the Muslim East and the Catholic West. All right, its artists created somber icons and brilliant mosaics that inspired French kings and Arab emirs alike. Its priests and monks fostered the Orthodox Christianity that is the faith of millions today. That is why I have this book. Going into history from 330 AD up until 1453 AD. Some good information here. Right? This book right here is from Ken Johnson. I don't believe everything Ken Johnson brings out. I don't adhere to everything he teaches. However, he has good resources and pretty much got to use some discernment, the spirit, and self-autonomy when going through some of his stuff. But I got this. It's called the Ancient Seder Olam. It's a Christian translation of the 2,000-year-old scroll. So pretty much the Seder Olam, order of the world or order of eternity. And it pretty much gives a chronology, right? Now, the thing about this is it's a rabbinic Jewish source, right? And it gives the chronology. And if you actually do a lot of research on the chronology of the Bible, the sages and rabbis, they try to be slick and take off about I think they try to take off at least it's like between 160 to like 200 years, right? So the Hebraic calendar right now that is rendered, it's supposed to be it's supposed to be 5,779. We're supposed to be in the year 5,779. However, with the shaving off of the years, we're really supposed to be in the 5,900s. I'll come back and do a lesson on that later. But Ken Johnson. I like to look at the information he's pulled out, especially about Daniel chapter 9, and the rabbis knowing about excuse me, the rabbis knowing about Daniel 9 is one of those pertinent chapters that shows a chronology of when Messiah was to come. Yes, the rabbis know, and I'll give you a sample of what's in this book. The author of this, Ken Johnson. The author of this, he's not the actual author, but he did this translation. He put it into understandable form for you. Ken Johnson, right? Let me read something to you. Okay. These are some of the rabbinical quotes about them knowing about Daniel 9 is a good place to show the chronology or the timeline and when Messiah is supposed to come. Check this out. Um, this is from Maimonides. Maimonides. He's one of the great rabbis and sages, right? This is a writing he put in Igaret Teman, chapter 3. He says, Daniel has elucidated to us the knowledge of the end times. However, since they are secret, the wise rabbis have barred the calculation of the days of Messiah's coming so that the untutored populace will not be led astray when they see that the end times have already come, but there is no sign of the Messiah. This is called blatantly hiding something. All right. Let me read another one. The anointed king is destined to stand up and restore the Davidic kingdom to its antiquity, to the first sovereignty. He will build the temple in Jerusalem and gather the strayed ones of Israel together. All laws will return in his days as they were before. Sacrificial offerings are offered, and the sabbatical years and jubilees are kept according to all its precepts that are mentioned in the Torah. Whoever does not believe in him or whoever does not wait for his coming, not only does he defy the other prophets, but also the Torah and Moses, our teacher. Bar Kokhba, right, son of the star, right, claimed that he was King Messiah. He and all the sages of his generation deemed him King Messiah until he was killed by sins. The Bar Kokhba revolt, like the year 132 AD, right? It says only since he was killed, they knew that Bar Kokhba was not the Messiah. That's Maimonides again in the Mishnah Torah, Hilchot Melachim, right? Another rabbi, his name is Judah, in the Babylonian Talmud in the section of the Sanhedrin. You got to go back and read this. You want me to go back and read it? Okay, I'll go back and read it. It says these times, the Daniel's 70 weeks were over long ago. That's from a guy named Rabbi Judah in Babylonian Talmud Sanhedrin. And then lastly, I'll read this one. It says, no, I'm going to read two more. This is from Rabbi Moses Abraham Levi. It says, I have examined and searched all the Holy Scriptures and have not found the time for the coming of Messiah clearly fixed except in the words of Gabriel to the prophet Daniel, which are written in the 9th chapter of the prophecy of Daniel. One more. This is from Maimonides again. Mishnah Torah Hilchot Melachim. So Maimonides says, similarly, one should not try to calculate the appointed time for the coming of Messiah. Our sages declared in Sanhedrin 97b, may the spirits of those who attempt to calculate the final time of Messiah's coming expire. Rather, one should await his coming and believe in the general conception of the matter as we have explained. This is called blatantly trying to hide something because they knew. All right. When I first started, Maimonides said Daniel has elucidated to us the knowledge of the end times. However, so he's saying Daniel has given us the knowledge of the end times. But he says since they're secret, the rabbis have told you not to calculate the days of the Messiah's coming so that the untutored populace will not be led astray. right? When they see the end times already come, but there's no Messiah. So he's saying, you know what? We know you can tell from Daniel 9 the time of Messiah's coming, but he's saying that, if you're putting yourself under the wise rabbi, you are not to try to calculate anything from Daniel 9. This is documented. Yes, you can find the Talmud or you can find the tractates of the Sanhedrin on halakha.com. HALAKHAH.com. All right. All right. All right. Well, I want to do this one last before I go somewhere else. um, let's do this. I got a lot of books to go, right? So, sorry about the long timing of the video, right? But I'm here, right? But go back get all these sources. Right? People are like, man, I can't listen for 2 hours, but people are asking me questions too, right? So no problem. Um, Christian Mythology: Revelations of Pagan Origins by Philip Walter. I got this out of the Wiccan section of Barnes and Noble, but it talks about some of the pagan syncretism of the holidays that are here. Like Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween, Easter, etc. Right? It talks about the origins of those here in this book, right? And then this book is called A History of the Hebrew Language by Angel Science Badios, translated by John L. Wold. It gives you a history of the languages of Hebrew. There's Tiberian Hebrew, there's Rabbinic Hebrew. Um, there's different revelations of Hebrew here. It talks about the history, talks about the revival, it talks about the comparative studies to see if the Hebrew that we have preserved now is on point and everything like that. They do comparison with Aramaic, Arabic, they do comparison with Akkadian and Ugarit and things of that nature, right? Right. This is pretty good. Pretty good. I got through all of this, man. It took me time to get through all of that. The women's studies. I did a video on this on my channel. It's called Command or Curse, and it talks about Genesis 3:16. How for the longest of time, right? People thought that was a prescription for how women should be treated. However, it's not a prescription; it's a description. It's describing is as a result of something. It's describing how people would act in their fallen state. So we're not supposed to be trying to live in a fallen state. A fallen state is abnormal. We're supposed to be trying to get back to uh, and be restored to what the Father created male and female to be from the beginning, right? Having dominion and ruling together. We're supposed to be following the example of Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2. So, with that being said, this book is called Guardian Angel by Skip Moen. Skip Moen. He has a video series about the Ezer Kenegdo on YouTube. You can go check it out. But this book right here, this is a book. Uh, if you can get it, women and men, please have this in your arsenal. Please have this in your library. Right? It goes into the Hebraic definitions of words so we can get an understanding. All right. All right. Lastly, before I say something, I'm gonna go into the script D, but these 4 books I have here one is called Divine Honors for the Caesars, the First Christians' Responses by Bruce Winter. After Paul left Corinth, the influence of secular ethics and social change, Bruce Winter. I got a lot of Bruce Winter, don't I? Roman Wives, Roman Widows, The Appearance of New Women and the Pauline Communities, Bruce Winter. And this last one is from Richard Horsley. It's called Paul and Empire, Religion and Power in Roman Imperial Society. Now, these 4 books I just held up. If you really want to understand Paul and understand that Paul was not teaching against Torah, if you want to know exactly what Paul was talking about as to why he was responding in such ways, then these books explain the history, the political, economical, social history of the lands that Paul went to. You can understand what the city of Ephesus was going through. You understand what the city of Corinth was going through. You understand what the Roman city was going through. You understand what the city of Galatia was going through. These 4 books. If you have money to get these, get these. I don't see a lot of Israelites in the online community spreading the information about these books. But these are very pertinent to understanding Paul. Very pertinent to understanding Paul. Paul was in a Roman imperial society. I'll be talking about this more on January 23rd on Debate Talk for You, the segment called The Second Quarter. I'll be talking more about this. All right? All right. You watch this. Yeah. All right. Before I get off this bookshelf and go to the others, so that will end this video. Anybody watching here who is a believer in Yeshua as Messiah, who believe Yeshua as Messiah came one time already before the second temple was destroyed in 70 AD, and all believers in Yeshua as Messiah who's going to return a second time, right now, like never before, your faith is getting tested in your belief of Yeshua as Messiah, and your faith is getting tested as to whether the Brit HaChalashah, or the renewed covenant, is actually valid. In order to stand firm on your belief, I'm going to give you some weaponry, solid. Anytime you hear any Tanakh only or Torah only person talk about, oh, you Israelites who believe in Yeshua as Messiah have no proof of anything, this book right here is called The Return of the Kosher Pig, The Divine Messiah in Jewish Thought. This is Rabbi Yitzhak Shapira. I did a video series going through most of the information in this book. If you study the information in this book, you will be well equipped to defend your faith in Yeshua as Messiah. You'll be able to know about any recycled question any person tries to claim that you didn't answer. They'll even say, oh, you don't answer questions properly. But this book right here, this is one of them. I did a series called Yeshua is Messiah. I know it's like 10 or 11 videos long. But this book, if you can get this book, this is a good one. Also, I'm going to share a series that Shalom, Vinny. I'm going to show you another series that I went through, and I'm actually going to get the physical set. It's on its way, actually. Let me share my screen here. You see this? It's a 5-volume set, actually, but on the Scribd app, or the Scribd subscription here, Scribd SCRIBD. This is where I have a plethora of digital books to look at, and a plethora of digital books such as PDFs to download, right? And so I pay a bi-yearly subscription. I think it's like $40 every 6 months. It's well worth it. But I download a lot of PDFs from here. But this set It's a 5-volume set by Dr. Michael Brown. Now, I don't believe in everything Dr. Michael Brown teaches. However, what I've come to know and realize is that when it comes to defending the faith of Yeshua as Messiah, he is solid. Number one, solid. This has helped me. This is called Answering Jewish Objections to Jesus. This 5-volume set, this right here is every believer in Yeshua as Messiah's weaponry. You can stand on this. You won't ever need to debate. Now, if you want to debate, you can. But this is why I don't need to debate. You know why? Because us believers in Yeshua as Messiah, we've been answering these questions for the past 2,000 years. We've answered them all. All the answers are here. All the answers are in the scripts. All the answers are in outside sources such as the Talmud, the Kabbalah or Zohar, and the Targums or the Aramaic translations of the Tanakh. And all of that information is in this set, Answering Jewish Objections to Jesus, and it's in the book from Rabbi Itzhak Shapiro called The Return of the Kosher Pig. Please. Now, this is a $90 set. However, it's probably one of the best $90 purchases ever in your life as a believer in Yeshua as Messiah. All right. All right. So, I'm still here, right? I'm still here, right? Okay, cool. Hands down. Hands down. All right. All right. Let me do this. Let me zoom in. I'm going to show you the last two book rows. Oh, okay, it's 6:30, so we got another hour of sharing books, right? Ooh. Okay, that's not going to work. All right, no problem. All right, let me show you this then. This is my trusty rusty book. Basics of Biblical Greek, William D. Mounts. This is where I'm learning Biblical Greek at. I'll be starting on chapter 14, pretty much. So I'm reviewing pretty much chapters 1 through 13, right? This is a book. Brother Hanok gave this to me to read, but it's actually in the Scribd app there. It's called Yahweh and the Sun: Biblical and Archaeological Evidence for Sun Worship in Ancient Israel by J. Glenn Taylor. Right? He actually printed it out, but it's a PDF that you can get in the Scribd app. It's 10:30 for you. All right, you got another hour. This book right here, I'm getting through. Man, where am I at? I told you. I'm on chapter 5 now. This is called Huldah, the Prophet Who Wrote Hebrew Scripture by Preston Kavanaugh. This goes through some sort of analytical procedure using anagrams to see or get information as to what parts of the Hebrew Tanakh Huldah wrote. She is actually accredited for writing the Shema, Deuteronomy chapter 6. Starting at verse 4, right? She's accredited with writing that, but I got to see what else it says in here. So I'm not done reading it, but it looks pretty okay so far. I think I have a discrepancy. It talks about when it talks about Isaiah 53 and who the suffering servant is. But I got a special treat for y'all, and I'll talk about that when I'm done with this video, because I'm gonna drop a bombshell. Hopefully this Sabbath. Hopefully the video will be this Sabbath, but I'm gonna drop a bombshell, and I'm gonna go into what I'm gonna talk about right now. In a minute, I'm gonna bring out some information because I'm pretty much gonna give a video as to why I'm not responding to any Tanakh only people. I'm not responding to any questions as to why Shanti as a participant is not going to be in the trial anymore on Debate Talk for You, right? I hear all the stuff. I hear it all, and I'm not worried about it. And I'm gonna go show my materials and sources probably this Friday as to why I'm not worried about it. I'm gonna drop a bombshell. This book right here, I ran across this guy named Bruce Gore on YouTube. He was actually doing a series, and the series is pretty much going through a timeline, a chronological history as to the dealings of Israel. And this is called historical and chronological context of the Bible. So you got to get this online. This costs about $35. I haven't went through it yet, but it gives his history from Mesopotamia or the year, pretty much 3500. No, it starts off Mesopotamia 2500 BC, and then it goes all the way up to Rome conquering Israel and things of that nature. So if you want to know chronology and Bible history and the names of the kings for Israel, the names of the kings of Babylon and Persia, the Greeks and Romans and all that stuff, this is the one to get. This is a $35 that's well in your reach. Now, I had to build this library, right? So I'm still not done building my library, but I started in 2013. So these are all the books I purchased since 2013. All right. You said time to draw the line. Oh yeah, Sister Kirsten. The line been and drawn, but I guess we need to actually, put it down firm. You know what I'm saying? We gonna draw the line, and we gonna show that when they keep talking to people who are not gonna respond, they're gonna look like they belong in an insane asylum. They gonna be, how in Boys in the Hood when Trey was boxing the air, we gonna have them looking like that because they up here fighting nobody. Yes. Woo! Right, that's what we gonna do on Friday. Hopefully on Friday, I'm gonna drop some bombs. I'm not gonna be going into a whole bunch of Bible, but I'm gonna be going into a bunch of outside sources. But yeah, this one right here is good to get if you want to understand chronology, timeline. All right. All right. Hopefully y'all can still hear me. Let me do this. Put one of my menorahs on the ground. Okay, this set right here, the burgundy one here, is called the Zohar, and it's where a lot of your Kabbalistic or Kabbalah is, right? So yes, Shanti has Kabbalah, and I'm gonna be going into the Kabbalah on Friday to drop this bombshell for believers in Yeshua as Messiah. Not that we need it, however, if you tune in, hopefully Friday, you'll understand why I'm going to the Zohar to drop this bombshell. This Zohar, or the Kabbalistic teachings, are not a Tanakh only person's best friend. All right. Here I have the works of Philo and the works of Josephus. Those are good historical purchases to get. Josephus costs about like $10 or $15 now, but it gives a lot of history to fill in the gaps and the holes that are missing from the scriptures, especially when it comes to the Persian Empire and the Greek Empire, and how those take over, Israel, and then how Rome comes in and who these people are, and the marriages they started being involved in, and the treaties they had, and all that good stuff. That's good. Um, this one right here, I'm gonna come and put it up here. It's called the Hebrew Bible, a socio-literary introduction, Norman Gottwald. This used to be on a school library, John P. Ryan Library, Pottstown, Pennsylvania. So a lot of used books, you're going to get them like this. It's good to get them in hardcover first, from online, but a lot of the times they have to, move old editions or versions of books off of their shelf to make room for the new revised editions. But the old editions are just as good. Sometimes the older the information, the better, right? All right. Can you consider Genesis 1:29 guideline and follow it at its point to us what kind of food we should be living under? All seeing activity. Okay, well, I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to pause real quick. I'm gonna bring something out about Genesis 1 and 29. It's about a lot of people use Genesis 1 and 29 to say that we should be living a lifestyle of eating vegan, right? However, I'm gonna ask you three questions. Three questions. If we were supposed to be strictly vegan, why did the Father command in the book of Exodus at the Passover to roast the lamb and eat it? Number two, why were the Levites and the family of the Levites commanded to eat of the fleshly sacrifices that were brought so they can feed their family? That's question number two. Why, if Yeshua was vegan, why was him and his disciples eating fish? If Genesis chapter 1, verse 29 is commanding us to be vegan. Those are just a few questions. However, I'll be touching on something I'm just going to bring out as a possibility a little later on. Still working on that. Because I've had someone like actually a couple weeks ago say, well, Genesis 1 and 29 says we're supposed to be vegan. I'm like, okay, well, why are these people eating meat? And if you eating fish, that automatically disqualified. I think, for people who say, okay, well, if we eat fish, then we're just called pescatarian or something like that, right? But anyway, all right, let me continue. That's a good question. All right. This book right here I got for $5. It's called Ancient Civilizations: The Illustrated Guide to Belief, Mythology, and Art. I don't take a look at this much, but it's there on the shelf if I need it. If I ever do a lesson or need to discover something, then I have these pieces of information at my immediate disposal. But I couldn't leave it on the shelf for $5, right? All right. All right. I'm trying to get through this quick now. Quick. This book is called Mystery Cults in the Ancient World by Hugh Bowden. Um, when I was looking at a lot of Greek mythology and the Roman gods and things of that nature, and see how Israel became to be influenced by these people, pretty much. This is one of the books that helped me, especially with I think one of the people, Demeter, Persephone, um, Zeus and Hercules and those people. You see how the names are of the same gods and goddesses from old. However, the names change due to different geographical location, but the god are still the same. They all actually derive from Baal and Asherah, and then they may change to Zeus, Jupiter, and then they change to Diana and then Artemis or Aphrodite or whatever, right? So the mystery cults. This helped me with this is one of the books that helped me with understanding um, some of the origins for Thanksgiving. Right. That's all I'll say about that. Oh boy. All right, let's bring these two. Let's bring these two. All right, so this one is called the let me see the author here first. Justin. Justin Pollard. Okay, Justin Pollard. So this is called The Story of Archaeology, an illustrated history of 50 great discoveries. So some of the discoveries on the Israelite artifacts are in here. You know, archaeology, how they're digging up ancient artifacts or um, reliefs or statues or little figurines or whatever, and you see the art of that and how they date these things or whatever, right? So I got that. Information like this is really good. All right. Have I ever touched the Nag Hammadi? I'm gonna give you what I think about the Nag Hammadi right after I talk about this book. That's a good question, sis. Um, Paul Collins. This is called From Egypt to Babylon. It's the international age from 1550 to 500 BC. So, pretty much like between 1447 and 1445 BCE is when the children of Israel got to exit out of Egypt and become a nation. So I like to get information to corroborate that and what they had to deal with as far as their surroundings, right? Because this is the year 1550 to 500 BC, it'll give me a lot of information that I need, right? From Egypt to Babylon. And we know the children of Israel were what exiled to Babylon. Babylon had a lot to do with what we see in the Bible. Let me answer your question about the Nag Hammadi. Um, Let me sit down on this one for a hot second. This is a good question. Y'all got some good questions tonight, boy. Y'all own me. Um, I don't touch the Nag Hammadi. The Nag Hammadi are pretty much they go along with what I held up before. A lot of the Nag Hammadi texts are written by Gnostics. And before I continue, um, let me read something from one of the Nag Hammadi texts, which is called the Gospel of Thomas. This is why I don't like it. I'm show you why I don't like it. I'm show you why I don't deal with it. All right, if I can find it. Man, you know how when you go try to find something and you can't find it all of a sudden, it's just gone. You know what I mean? I had it saved as a screenshot, but I probably gotta you know pull it up somewhere else. Let me see. Could you please explain manuscripts? No. Um. Alashon, no. Halakha, no. Oh, no, no. You will enjoy verse set. No, verse set. Nope, no, that's not it. So, let me see. It's here. Oh, there we go. I found it. I found it. So, I'm going to show you something as to why I don't like the Gnostic text. This is from earlychristianwritings.com, and this is / Gospel Thomas 114.html. And it reads Simon Peter said to them, Let Miriam go out from among us, for women are not worthy of the life. Jesus said, Look, I will lead her, that I may make her male, in order that she too may become a living spirit resembling you males. For every woman who makes herself male will enter into the kingdom of heaven. That's why I don't do the Nag Hammadi text. That's the Gospel of Thomas. It's one of the writings in Gospel of Thomas. So no. So I'll give you another rendition of the Gospel of Thomas 1:14, right? This is the translation from Layton. It says, Simon Peter said to them, Mary should leave us, for females are not worthy of life. Jesus said, see, I am going to attract her to make her male, M-A-L-E, so that she too might become a living spirit that resembles you males. For every female that makes itself male will enter the kingdom of heaven. That's very misogynistic. I don't dig it. You said, wow. Right. Wow. Jeez. Wow is not the man. Crazy. Right? There's misogynistic quotes from the Talmud. There's misogynistic quotes from some of these Nag Hammadi texts. There's misogynistic quotes from the church, some of the church fathers. So no, I haven't touched the Nag Hammadi text. I'll stick with the text I got. You know. So you said Vinny, you said Thomas was off the chain. Yeah, that's very different, wasn't it? That was very different, man. That's why I don't mess with them Nag Hammadis. No, I don't need the Nag Hammadis. If you want to adhere to those, go right ahead. All right, so over here, I'm not going to show you, but I got the Old Testament parsing guide. You know, when I'm learning biblical Hebrew, to parse a word, you break down whether it's a noun, you break down whether it's a verb, you break down whether it's first person, second person, third person, you break down whether something's a request or a wish or a command, things of that nature. You break down whether something's an adjective, whether it's a continuing action, things of that nature. So you have your Old Testament parsing guide to help. And the Old Testament parsing guide, they're from Todd, Bill, and William Banks and Colin Smith. Right? Right. I'm gonna bring these two over here. Actually, let me bring these three over here. This is pretty cool. I haven't gotten all the way through this, but like I said, when I need something, um, it's right at my fingertips when I'm doing some research. So this is Eusebius. This is one of the church fathers. This is church father history. And this is by Paul Meyer. Paul Meyer. All right. A new translation with commentary. So Eusebius, right? Man, you want to know about all these different characters from the Bible, and you want to know about these different characters not mentioned in the Bible, but they definitely have something to do with Israel and a lot of the history and a lot of the history when Israel had dealings to do with Rome and all that stuff. Eusebius or Eusebius, right? Well, however you pronounce it. I got that from Half Price Books too for about $8. This book right here, I paid too much money for it, but I actually took the time to read it. It's called Hadrian and the Christians. So, pretty much in the years like 132 between 132 AD and 135, during the Bar Kokhba revolt, this guy Hadrian came in afterwards, and there were some of his followers or whatever, and they were supposedly called Christians or whatever. So I was looking into some history of who were original Christians, or where this word Christian came from or whatever. But Christian pretty much is like, it's pretty much a derogatory term, like the N word, that people have gravitated to as a term of endearment to call themselves. So Christian is not an original word that anybody called themselves. Like, for example, the Pharisees. We call the Pharisees or the Israelites who believed in resurrection. They didn't believe in a political government. They believed um, in immortality. The Pharisees, they're called the pious ones or whatever, right? It's pretty much a word means separatist, right? So that's what we would call the Pharisees. But the Pharisees, they would call themselves Perushim. And Perushim means, we're like, we're pretty much trying to adhere to the laws as best as possible. That's what they call themselves, Perushim. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But that's why I read this. That's why I purchased this, right? And then and then this is called Ritual Sacrifice. What's her name? Brenda Ralph Lewis. Ritual Sacrifice. I got this book when I was trying to look at each culture's, rituals and the practices and activities they would go through to actually show what deity or power or God they believed in and worshipped, right? And then I was also looking at a point in time, I was looking at if tattoos were of the Most High or not. I was looking for some information that would elaborate on what Leviticus 19 and Deuteronomy 14, talking about don't make a bald spot on yourself or don't cut yourself for the dead and stuff like that. So I was getting this book to see if it had any information, but pretty much it didn't have a lot, but it had a lot on like blood sacrifice and a lot of different ways um, cultures, sacrificed or pleased their deity or their god, right? So, how much time I got? Ooh wee. This one right here. This is called the Leash Hebrew Gospels. So pretty much it's the Gospels in Hebrew. It's like Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. The Gospels are in Hebrew, and then it has your English on the side. This was pretty much a gift. You see, it's like still brand spanking new in the box. I don't read this pretty much, right? So as you see, I got other stuff to just go read, right? Right. I see y'all ain't asked me no questions still, huh? No, I mean not still, but y'all done calm down on the questions a little bit, huh? All right, cool. Y'all see me on I'm comfortable. All right. This next set of Burgundy books right here on the shelf right here, that's an encyclopedia. I actually, when I was at Half Price Books one day, yeah, Half Price Books, I'm always there, right? When I was in Half Price Books, I saw that at the top shelf, and they had the whole set for $25. So if you can go to a thrift store, if you can go to Goodwill, if you can go to a garage sale, Salvation Army, anything, right? If you can go find yourself an encyclopedia, the whole set, get one. All right. You said you're sleepy. All right. If you're sleepy, we'll see you, sis. This will be uploaded after it's done, and you can see all the resources that I have. Right. Right. I'm just giving you some resources. All right. So that's the encyclopedia set, and down here, of the world of the Bible, pretty much it was a um it's a set that's out of print that came from an elementary school, and it has a lot of history um, that goes along with the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. It gives pictures, it gives some geographical maps, it gives some archaeological information in there as well. And then down here, BA bought me this. I really don't go into it much, of course, but it's the Greek English Lexicon of the New Testament by Walter Bauer. I don't really use that. I use either the Brown Driver and Briggs, which is right here for the Old Testament as a lexicon, or I use the Liddell Scott's for the first century AD Greek words, right? And then for your Bible dictionaries, I have New Unger's Bible Dictionary, I have Smith's, um, and then Vinny know what I'm talking about right here. The Complete Word Study Dictionary of the New Testament, and then the Complete Word Study Dictionary for the Old Testament. So it's good to have your lexicons and your dictionaries. So your your concordance, it pretty much gives you an overview of the definition of the word, but the dictionary actually breaks down how each word is defined in you know um, in different chapters and verses. It just breaks it down more particularly. But this book I have right here, I don't go into it much, but it's called The Hebraic Literature, translated by M.H. Harry, and it's pretty much a few of the translations from the Talmud, the Midrashim, and Kabbalah. Right? I think I got this for like 10 or 20 bucks. It's like a collector's item, but it has some writings from the Talmud and all that stuff, right? Um. Oh, this is one of the sources I'm going to use for the bombshell for us believers in Yeshua as Messiah. It said you look so cozy, maybe yeah, yeah, we be chilling, right? Pull up pull a nice cup of a dope beverage, get comfortable. You know what I mean? Sometimes we be studying, sometimes my husband playing games, and sometimes we'll play some board games together, some dominoes, some spades, look real comfortable, huh, sis? Gotta be comfortable. All right, and we move on to the last shelf here. Let's smooth this over a bit there. All right. Okay. So up here, it's a 5-volume set. I have another book of this that's at my cubicle at the office, but this is called the Interlinear Humash. It's actually the Torah portions broken down, and it'll also give you the prophets, the book chapter and verse of the prophets that go along with the Torah portions, right? And it also has some commentary at the bottom. It has some commentaries, pretty much rabbinical and sage commentary that you would find a lot in the oral Torah or the Talmud, right? So this is pretty much what it looks like inside, right? So your interlinear, it'll have your Hebrew, then it will have your English under it, and then it has some of the commentary here. Now, the commentary for anybody who's going to purchase anything like this book set costs, I think it cost $100, but it was a gift. And if you're going to read the commentary, you gotta chew the meat, spit out the bones, take the pertinent parts, and leave the toxins, flush them down the toilet. That's what you gotta do, right? When you read it. You want some sake? Oh my gosh, sake sounds good. But sake, you gotta drink it while it's warm. It starts getting cold, it don't even taste the same, right? Right. So that's the Humash. Humash comes from the word Hamesh, which means 5. So this is Hamash is 5 books, right? The Torah. Right. So that's the set I have there. In up here, I haven't read through it in its totality, but this was given to me for free by a brother. This is the Quran. The Quran. The Arabic word Quran means to recite or call out, right? So in the Hebrew, the word Qara is what? Call out. That's how you can tell Arabic and Hebrew are like cousins, Shemitic or Semitic languages, right? So I haven't got through all of the Quran, but the Quran definitely, for the people who don't know, it calls the children of Israel the people of the book, and it calls Jesus or Yeshua, it calls him Isa, things of that nature. It's pretty interesting what I've read so far. You missed what book, brother Vinny? What you missed? The Humash? Let me know what book, Vinny. Was it the book I was talking about where it had Hebrew at the top and then the English at the right under it, the interlinear Humash? Yeah, it's always the opinions. Some hit the mark, some are way off. Yeah, it actually joggles your brain to start, you know, thinking about some things, thinking about different perspectives. It actually gives me trigger words a lot as well. I know a lot of people say, "Hey, Shanti, how do you find all these resources when you go online?" Um, a lot of times when I'm reading, I see trigger words and I start typing those words into Google, and I'm like, "Yo, got more information on this?" So yeah. Oh, interlinear Humash. It's from Art Scroll. ARTSCROLL. Art Scroll. That set, it was a gift, but I think it's about $100 for the whole set. But pretty much it's just the Torah portion. It's just the Torah portions. Um, and then it's the prophets for the Torah portions. It does not have any. Brit, Chachadashah, or renewed covenant in it at all. All right. All right. So finish this out. I found this in the archaeological section. It's called the Israelites, of course. You see BSJ Isserlin. BSJ Isserlin. I haven't read through this all at once, but there's a lot of pertinent information that's in here. Archaeological evidence. It talks about their social, political climate. It talks about what they ate. Talks about them being agriculturalists. It talks about the people they encountered. All of the good pertinent information you want to know about Israelites. Just a little bit of information. So, like I said, when I'm researching, when I'm studying, when I want something, it's at my immediate disposal. That's why I get these books. It's called Building a Library, right? Right. You're welcome, baby. All right. Oh yeah, yeah. Let's do this. This is called The World of the Celts by Simon James. I did a video on this called the Galatians are the Celtic peoples. So there's some information that the Celts who migrated over to the land of Galatia, they were called the Gauls, Gauls, and because they were called the Gauls, um, they were in this land, and that land became known as Galatia, right? And that's where we get Paul right into the Galatians. So if you understand some of the cultural beliefs and practices and rituals of the Celts, you understand Galatians, especially chapter 4. So I did a video on that on my channel, right? You go back and look at that. And then this book right here is called Background of Early Christianity. This actually helped me a lot with Paul's letters too. Um, like I keep saying, the social, political, economical climate. You see how Israel had to deal with Rome. You see how Rome had their hand in a lot of things, right? Um, you see how some of the women live. You see how some of the men live. You see what some of the laws of the land were. You see some of the ways the Israelites had to navigate uh, through these certain lands, because these lands they were living in had certain laws, that went against the scripture. But and then you'll see, of history of Israel always having a hard time with assimilation and syncretism and things of that nature. Being influenced by outside cultures and stuff like that. So this book right here is pretty cool. So it's by Everett Ferguson. I had to get this one from online, but definitely if you want to understand first century AD information, this is one of the books to get. All right, all right. Um, I'm running out of room on my shelf. That's not a bad thing, but some of these I'm not going to bring up to the the camera here, but I have a book called 501 Hebrew Verbs. I don't use this a whole bunch, but 501 Hebrew verbs. It definitely does have a lot of verbs that are not in your biblical Hebrew. It has a lot of modern words too, but when you start learning the language, you can definitely get into that. So it's by Shemuel Bolotsky, and it's fully conjugated in all the tenses in a new, easy to learn format, alphabetically arranged by root. Right. So. Uh, I bought the Complete Idiot's Guide to World Religions when I was trying to get a little bit of a glimpse of, Hinduism, Buddhism, Muslims, and Islam, and all these other religions that sometimes we don't even know about. There was a religion called Baha'i. Somebody was telling me, oh, their people were into the Baha'i religion. I had to go research that. So I was like, okay, let me just go get a book for idiots, right? Gaul is the Latin name. Yep, yep. Similar to today living here in the US. Yeah, sis. That's when I was talking about the backgrounds of the early Christianity book, right? We over here as Israelites, we're trying to navigate uh in a land that has laws that definitely go against the most high's laws. For example, I can't even say it here, but same sex stuff, you know, they definitely go against the laws of the most high, but they are laws of the land. So that's what Paul helped the people deal with a lot. People don't realize that, but um oh, let me show these two. Show these two. This is called Ancient Greece from Prehistoric to Hellenistic Times by Thomas Martin. And this is the complete Dead Sea Scrolls in English. Everybody needs to get this, especially believers in Yeshua as Messiah. Please go look at the Essenes and what they did to preserve and write what they believed. I don't agree with everything that the Essenes, adhere to, because sometimes they didn't even believe in sacrifice, and they're probably the ones who tried to promote a lot of vegetarianism, but they believed in Yeshua as Messiah, definitely, right? Everyone should have that. But this right here actually showed me, when I was going into a lot of information trying to find out what Paul was dealing with when it came to the Greco-Roman world. This book is one of the things that helped me. A lot of the misogyny, you can find it here, right? That's all I'm going to say. A lot of the misogyny, you can find it here. I actually brought out some of this information on one of my videos called Head and Head Covering, right? Where I cleared up a lot of misunderstanding about First Corinthians chapter 11, right? Dueling sword mergers. What you mean dueling sword mergers, Sister Marie? You be coming up with some terminology, Sister Marie. I stepped my game up. Oh man, this right here. I don't even know if they still make this or publish this, but this is from Reader's Digest, the last 2 million years. It has a lot of history on it, from for different peoples and cultures and stuff like that. So of course, a lot of the biblical presence of Israel is documented here. You know, you can never have too many historic sources. Never. Um. Oh, I want to talk about this first. The Crusades. Right? You should know how Christianity was spread and forced upon the people, and there was pretty much holy wars going on. That's these crusades, but right. So there's a whole bunch of books out here on the crusades, right? But this is by Jonathan Riley Smith. I have not gone through this all the way, but this is very important to know. This is very important to know. It's very important to know these things to distinguish yourself as a believer in Messiah, right? To distinguish yourself from the the followers of Christendom. And what I mean by Christendom is this modern Sunday going syncretized worship where they talk about the laws done away with. Me, myself, and people like me, believers in Yeshua Messiah, we still follow the law, statutes, and commandments, right? The ones that we can follow in the law of the land, in the land, right? The ones that we can follow, we follow the feast days and stuff like that, but we just can't go stoning people, right? But information like this, you need to know, so therefore you can be able to distinguish yourself from a follower of Christendom, right? Lastly, for this shelf here, okay, I'm making good timing. This right here is called the Golden Bow, um, by Sir James George Fraser. The Golden Bow, Sir James George Fraser. Let me hold this one up and let me pause it real quick. Let me pause. Let me just hold it up, okay? Now, uh, this book talks about magic and religion. Says the primary aim of this book is to explain the remarkable rule which regulated the succession to the priesthood of Diana and Aricia. Right? Let me just give you a little bit of the contents. Talks about Diana, Artemis. Talks about um, the magical control of rain, the sun, and the wind, and how people worship these elements as gods. Right? But I got this book because it talks about tree spirits. It talks about the worship of trees. Now, you know what holiday the world just celebrated, and most of us used to celebrate, but we stopped, right? It just passed. And people's put a tree up in their house, right? People just thinking it's just a part of the holiday. Those things mean something. And a lot of people, if they understood what the tree meant, they probably would not have it up in their home. But a lot of green trees, right? A lot of green tree worship is in the Bible. Jeremiah 3, you know, so forth and so on. You know, when the Most High says under on every high hill, under every green tree, you were doing these abominous practices, worships, and you were burning incense to the Baals and having the Asherah next to it and all that stuff. Well, green means it's effervescent, it has life. So they believe these spirits lived in trees. They believed the life of the gods or deities they worshipped were in these trees. That's why they were doing these things under green trees or lively trees. So this book right here talks a lot about tree worship. And I'm not even going to say the explicit word because you know what it is. It's a symbol for a progenitive part, right? This book right here and another one called Cultus Arborum talks about tree worship. So this stuff that people are doing is nothing new under the sun. And sometimes people don't want you to tell them what it means because they don't want to know that they're partaking in rituals or practices of such behavior, right? Nobody wants to know they have a progenitive part symbol in their home, especially for their children. But anyway, that's for the people who have ears to hear and care, right? Okay, who's saying something? Uh, Same anatomy mergers. Yeah, yeah. You and these terms, I like it. I like it, Sister Marie. I like it. All right. So, lastly, under the shofar and under the menorah, I have the Book of Joshua here. I have First Maccabees here. Um, I have a book on the Sumerians and I have a book on the Canaanites. Definitely want to go and look at the archaeological information, the history, the migrations, you know, the rituals, the practices, the daily social life that they had. So a lot of historical information you can get from books like these, right? Got this from Half Price Books. So this is from Jonathan Tubb, Peoples of the Past, Canaanites, and the Sumerians is by Leonard Woolley. These are pretty good prices I got these things from for half price books, right? Right. Going pretty fast now. I'm going pretty fast. All right. This is called the Oxford Dictionary of the Jewish Religion from R.J. Zwi Werblowski and Jeffrey Wagader. Right. So, man, I was just using this a few days ago. I was looking up some information that I'm going to be bringing out on Debate Talk for you about the rabbis and sages that were prevalent during the Messiah's days when he walked on the earth. But this gives definitions for the certain peoples and certain rabbis and certain sages. It talks about astronomy, And in the thought, they talk about birth control, they talk about birthdays, capital punishment. Everything is in here. Talking about forced conversion, copper scroll. I mean, everything in here that has to do with something Hebraic or whatever, whatnot, is in this. And this, it gives a definition of all these terms and different peoples, right? So this is a good source to have. This was a good $15. A good $15, right? Um, this set I got for $20. I don't like it though. So if anybody wants to copy it off of me, $20. Theological Word Book of the Old Testament. So it's pretty much given a rendition of the definitions for some of these theologians, uh, ways they're coming up with the Hebrew words or something. Sometimes their words are off. They're probably adding some things in commentary that they don't need to. But this is R. Laird Harris, Gleason Archer Jr., and Bruce Waltke. Some of you guys are probably familiar with Bruce Waltke. All right. All right. $20. $20 for that. Then I have the analytical lexicon of the Greek New Testament. I don't use that. The analytical Hebrew and Chaldee lexicon. I don't use this much. You probably see a lot of the Paradigm crew or some of the brothers and sisters on Facebook using this thing right here. It's about $30. I don't use it a lot, but this is one of the parsing. This is one of the parsing materials. Some of them like to use, right, when you're breaking down Hebrew words, right? Okay, this right here, Hard Sayings of the Bible. This is from Walter Kaiser, Peter Davids, F. Bruce, Manfred Broch. So Hard Sayings of the Bible. This was $10. This is pretty good. They break down some of the things that are hard to understand, some of the passages that are hard to understand in certain books of the Bible. And right here is like one of the sources that will give me some trigger words to go start Googling sometimes. And that's pretty much what happened. But sometimes they give you the meanings of what some of the euphemisms and idioms mean when you run across some words and passages in the scriptures. So this is a very, very good source. Very, very good. And for my Greek studies here, I have the text of the earliest New Testament Greek manuscripts, new and complete transcriptions with photographs, edited by Philip Comfort and David Barrett. All right. This was on my wish list for a while. It cost me a good amount of shekels there, right? Cost me a good amount of shekels. The text of the earliest New Testament Greek manuscripts. Pretty much, it has the papyri manuscripts, the fragments labeled P for papyri, whatever, whatnot, right? So, this is Matthew 1, right here. I'll read a little bit of it. Let's see. So this is straight Greek, right? Straight Greek. So it's just, this book is missing First Timothy and Second Timothy a lot, but it says Biblos Genesos we uzu David hui Abraham egenesenton Isaac Isaac de egenesenton Jacob de egenesenton Huidan Kaitus Adelphus Autu uh, Huiodas de Egenesenton Fares Kaiton Zari Ectista Mor Fares de Egenesenton Esfro Ephraim, right? So that's straight Greek. That's my beginnings of biblical Greek, right? You mean all right, Achoti? Okay, so I'm Achoti because I'm sister, but if you're saying all right, Achi to brother Vinny, then you got it. All right. You read Greek with the Hebrew accent, actually, because Greek does come from Hebrew, so it's not a Hebrew accent. When you start reading Greek, you'll see what I mean. Biblos, Genesos, who David, right? David, Huio, Abraham, Abraham. I'm saying the words. You know what I mean? So we'll talk about that later. But it's not a Hebrew accent. It's the Greek. That's But along with my Greek, when I get into enough of the introduction of it, these two books I have at my immediate disposal: Greek Grammar Beyond the Basics, Daniel B. Wallace, an exegetical syntax of the New Testament, and idioms of the Greek New Testament by Stanley E. Porter. So after I get through with the basics of biblical Greek learning from William D. Mounts, I'm going to be going into this a lot and trying to get some understanding as much as I can about the Brit HaChadashah, or the Renewed Covenant. I'm already going into a lot of what's called textual criticism, looking at the original manuscripts, looking at whether something's to be taken literally, whether something's a euphemism or idiom, whether words belong there or not. Things of that nature. I'm already getting into that. So this is when you're getting into your textual criticism, right? That's apologia right there. All right. And then at the bottom here, this set, it's a 5 volume set. This used to be like $100 or something dollars, but I found it at Half Price Books. They gave me the 5 volume set for $30. This is called the Interpreter's Dictionary of the Bible, and pretty much, guess what? It's another dictionary. It's one of those ancient dictionaries, and it gives you, definitions on everything. What's the Eloist, what's exegesis, what's what's Hellenism, right? What's Hellenistic Judaism, and all that good stuff. Man, it has everything in it. So I even just found that, right? But always good to have a good dictionary. It says you would uh like to get more understanding on the Khazarian conversion and the supposed Yahudim that educated them in the language and the culture. Oh man. You know what, Sister Marie? There's a book from the Scripty. Um get with me on the back end. Get with me in the back end, and I'll tell you about it. Because I have to search through my books and find that for you. But I did run across it. Um so there was a book dedicated to that, and you'll see a little bit about that conversion. So after this video, if I find it or whatever, I'll send you the title of it. All right, all right. So with that being said, that's pretty much all my books I have, all the resources I have. Um, Hopefully, I can do uh, something on how to study, or show you how I study, or if I'm bringing out a particular topic or subject, what tools, materials, or resource articles would I look up when I'm trying to find out something. A lot of the times I go to the encyclopedia as well. The encyclopedia has a lot of information. But yeah. So I just wanted to do this for everyone. I already got a thumbs down on this. That's good. That's good. That means somebody's paying attention, and they're like, nah, we don't like that. We don't like sis showing the books. We don't even like sis talking. I think that's funny. But anyway, so I hope everyone who joined in got to see all the books that I utilize, go through, refresh my mind with, all that good stuff. Hopefully, I'll sit down one day, like I said, and show people how I study, how I go through and put together a lesson. Hopefully, like I said, this Friday, I'm gonna be dropping that bombshell. Maybe I got a thumbs down off of I said I dropping the bombshell. Who knows? But yeah. Any further questions, comments, or concerns, just direct them to my email. Can Oh yeah, definitely, Sister Marie. I can definitely do a video on study habits. Hopefully this Friday, this Shabbat, this Erev Shabbat, I can drop the bombshell as to why I'm not responding to certain um to not only inquiries, or why Shanti's not going to be a part of trials and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I don't think I'll have to do any more like that. But anyway, I'm going to end this video. You said you study. Oh no. Okay. Well, we can help sharpen you up, Sister Marie. But it's about prioritizing your time in the day. That's all it's about. Prioritizing your time in the day. If you sleep for 8 hours, you got 16 hours of day left to do what you got to do. So you got to prioritize your time and see, what you're going to do first, second, and third. What's going to be most important to you to do throughout the rest of the time that you have allotted in the day. All right. All right. So I'll be available throughout the week. Go back and enjoy this video. Go back and enjoy the the uh, the resources I brought up. Remember the Script D app that I showed, that you can get a subscription to. I got tons of other books in PDF form that I downloaded from there. But um, with all this, research reference material and all that, the knowledge, yeah, the information from there is good. Still need the spirit, still need the ruach to illuminate and give light on that understanding, give you some comprehension on what's in between the lines, or what's not literally said there. You need the ruach, or the light, to give you understanding on the concepts and the principles, especially the spiritual concepts and principles that the Most High is trying to get you to understand. And then, most importantly, need the Ruach to have that wisdom. That wisdom is a lot of how to apply and when to apply the things that you have learned in theory, right? So always need the spirit. Knowledge, can puff up, but we still need some solid recorded evidence here to help solidify our faith. It's not the absolute to solidify our faith, but that's why it's called a faith, right? Faith is the belief in things unseen, right? All right. So with that being said, I love y'all. Love y'all with the love of the Most High. Again, debate talk for you, South Showtime. Um, the I think this is the 10th season here for debate talk for you. It starts January the 21st, and that's a Monday. And then I, Ashanti, am going to be on every other Wednesday, at least 2 times in the month, starting on Wednesday, January the 23rd. And then my co-host is Brother B.A. Ben Abraham. Will be coming on the second quarter, right? That's the segment that I host. Right? It's called the second quarter. And it's to promote more of the style of teaching we have, where you have women teaching along with men, right? Trying to restore Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2. So join me January 23rd, Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the second quarter debate talk for you. All right. All right. I'm about to get off this computer here. Shalom, shalom, wa barakot, Mishpacha wa Habarim. Y'all have a good and blessed rest of y'all week. Shabua Tov. Have a great and blessed night. Lala Tov. Get at me. It's your girl 916 Shansha in the building. All right. Shalom, shalom, y'all. Much love.